Okay, hey everyone. I know in the previous video we discussed cap rate. Cap rate is a very important metric, and then but at the same time we have a way to calculate it and achieve it. I thought that I just show this. This is a template. There are different templates out there. The template I usually use is more expansive. It has more details per month. And whether you do it on Excel or on Argos, which is a real estate, mostly commercial real estate analysts use it, you can use that too. This is very simple. I thought that for someone who hasn't seen a P&L or hasn't experienced anything, we could just make this very simple, obviously, and a real P&L would have look like an income statement. And then it has details on expenses per month and all that. We'll have a video on that. I'll show you how it looks so you can get a feel. I think that a video on income statement we should do because it's good to know. It's good to know how to read income statement. It's not that tough. It looks very intimidating, but it's very easy. Very easy. Okay, so let's go through this. This is a property. This is a multifamily property. It is commercial. Remember, 5 units or more are considered commercial real estate. So you have 6 units here that are one is vacant, but this was the data for last year, so pretend you're in 2021. You have 6 units, and then this is the more aggregated expense list here, and then we can just show you how to calculate cap rate from it. Maybe a realistic example, because it's easy to talk. It's easy to say cap rates, and cap rate is your revenue minus expense, which is NOI over value, but it's hard to conceptualize, especially with real-time data. So let's do this. So first things first, for 2021 here, you had 6 units and 1 unit was vacant, so there's no revenue for it, but these were the rental levels that it produces for us. And as you can see, all of them they had no vacancy. They rented out for all 12 months, and which is pretty good. If you can see that these are lower rents. This is Southwest Florida. I would say Southwest Florida before the boom, because 2021, 2022, these rental numbers are not possible. 575. I don't think we will ever have a 575 ever again here. 700, 400, 600. Very good rents. And your total revenue, annual revenue, is 39,000. Simple. We just added everything else. Again, you can be as elaborate and as complicated on this one, and use vacancy rates and use your some of the other expenses you have. Sometimes in apartments you want to buy, there's a laundry machine that takes coin, so maybe you can have additional income. You might have seen a lot of vending machine or gumball machine TikTok videos where they have a good business on that. If you have a property, you can actually use different things to increase your income. Those incomes would be considered a property income as well. It's up to you if you want to include it. If you want to sell it and include the business with it, include it. If not, just don't. But for now, this is just rental revenue for all these units. You have your total revenue 39,000, and this is 2021 currently. So for 2021, you have some expenses. Remember we said operating expenses that are only for operating the property. So for this property, these are the expenses: property taxes, management fee. One thing to remember is you can self-manage the property. You can manage it yourself, and realistically, that's not an expense that you have to pay for. But when you want to produce this information to a potential buyer, you have to calculate it. Or you might want to buy a property that is self-managed, and you plan to manage it yourself too, or not. Might want to give it to a management company. You don't know that. Either way, you have to include that because it is an expense. Something might happen to you. You might move out of state. You still need to have that kind of capacity for the company to manage it. So management fees always has to be a part of the operating expenses. Utilities, maintenance. Again, this is a very simplified version. There are more to that, but we'll go through a detailed one later as well. And then your total expenses, annual expenses, 17,780. Well, you deduct to the 21,220 NOI. Not much, I suspect, because the rental levels are very low. And for this property, if you can see the cap rate, the listing price was 675,000. which is expensive. This was potentially a property in 2021, mid 2021, when prices went up, but rents haven't caught up yet, or they're in contract. So total expenses are if you do the NOI, I apologize, it's pretty low. And that's why if you divide 21,220 by 675,000, your cap rate is 3%. It's very low, and it shows because the price is very high compared to its net operating income, even compared to its revenue. By the way, total revenue divided by price, they call it gross yield. So if you heard or saw something called gross yield, that's it. They just divide the revenue by price. That's not a bad idea, especially if you have confidence you can control or lower this expense. It's a good metric, but cap rate is a more true measure. And that's it. You can count it for this year. We'll talk about cash flow and cash on cash, but I said one thing is benchmarking and comparison. So let's say that 675,000 doesn't work for you. Well, what price does work for you? If you're in a normal market, obviously it's not this market. This market is not normal. You can offer a price that's more appropriate for you. You're an investor. You don't have to live in it. You just have to, the money and the numbers have to make sense for you. So $265,250, if it's your desired price, and I know it's such a steep decline from what it was listed initially. So in this world, this offer wouldn't get accepted. So, but 265,000, and we said based on the desired number, what the cap rate would be. And so the existing cap rate is at 3.14. But if you were to hypothetically buy at this price, and as you can see, the cap rate is 8%. Well, huge jump. Why? Because the NOI stays the same. The NOI always stays the same. There is a limited amount that you can increase rent year by. So it's not like your revenue is going to jump so high. At lease renewal, you can increase your rental levels so much before tenants think that it's not worth it. So this can stay still within a reasonable price. But if you were to purchase this property at this price, you will have a pretty good cap rate, 8%, which is a higher cap rate. It's just because you pay less for it. And then obviously you pay less for it. It has a positive correlation to your cash flow, so just keep in mind on that too. We'll discuss, I'll make a video on cash flow and cash on cash. It's such a big topic, and I think in this market especially, there are a lot of cash flow buyers, but we'll discuss that. But this one more thing I want to discuss is future values. Again, we'll discuss pro forma for those of you who want to be really skilled in real estate finance, really skilled in commercial real estate. You can map out future rental incomes and revenue levels and estimate or guesstimate future expenses and come up with these metrics for the next year or so. So, and this is another topic, we'll discuss it later, is that you say, well, right now, the rental income is not the best, the cap rate is not the best at the moment, or if you're a cash flow investor, the cash flow is negative, is not the best. But if next year comes around and I increase rents by this much, manage my expenses by this much, I can lower the deficit, or by year 3, I could have a positive cash flow. So there's a silver lining in that, is that if we rent out this unit next year, and then in 2023, we increase all rents by 15%, well, and hopefully we decrease expenses. In this model, it didn't happen. Expenses went up with like 3% CPI index. Rest in peace. There's no more CPI index. That's 3%. We expect double-digit CPI index probably in the next month or so. Hopefully not. But with the 8% that it is now, you'll never see 3% for a long time. But if you manage the expenses, cherry on top as well. But you are at a positive cash flow and a higher cap rate. So maybe if you paid your dues when it comes to cash flow, and then you had to satisfy cash deficit, you can sell it at a higher cap rate. Obviously, this strategy is not good because it's not making you any money, it's not making you any income, or even if the market goes through adjustment, this might not even happen. But this is the thought process to go through it. So look at the current situation right now, and again, map out your futures, and then see if the plan works for you. If it doesn't work for you, hey, no problem. Move on to the next property.